I am here with my friend E.B. We're going to read an Easter story called The Story of Easter. Are you ready, E.B.? Okay. A little more than 2,000 years ago, Jesus was born in the town of Bethlehem. Jesus traveled far and wide teaching about God's love. He also healed people who were sick or disabled. When people heard Jesus and saw his loving actions, they believed he was the Son of God. Jesus had 12 friends called the disciples who shared the workload. Many others followed Jesus too, including Mary Magdalene, Joanna, and Susanna. Wherever he went, Jesus cared for people, and he called for them to drop what they were doing and follow him. One day, Jesus led his followers to the city of Jerusalem. He had important things to do in the city, and he wanted to celebrate Passover with his disciples there. As Jesus entered the city, people sang and shouted, "Hosanna! Hosanna! Here comes God's King! Praise God!" Soon, others joined the parade. Hundreds of people, thousands of people. They waved their palm branches and they threw them on the ground to make a path for Jesus. Jesus was welcomed as a king, but Jesus was a different kind of king. He was a king of peace. Not everyone understood that. Some religious leaders thought the crowd was too loud and the parade was getting too big. "Who is that man?" someone asked. The crowd answered, "This is Jesus, God's king. He's come to save us." Some men told Jesus to tell his friends to be quiet. But Jesus said, "We can make these people be quiet, but it wouldn't make any difference. Today the whole earth is celebrating." Jesus knew the time had come for him to leave this world. He wanted to share his last Passover meal with the disciples. As they were eating, Jesus sadly told them, "Soon, one of you will betray me. One of you will tell people who don't like me where I am so they can come and take me away." Then Jesus picked up a loaf of bread. He blessed it, and he gave some to each of his friends, saying, "Take this bread and eat it. This is my body." Then Jesus picked up a cup of wine, and he gave thanks, and he said, "Drink this, it's my blood, which I must give up so the sins of people can be forgiven." Later that night, Jesus told his friends that his life had to end. It was a sad and hard time for Jesus and his friends. Jesus felt so sad that he went to a quiet place in the garden and he prayed. "Please, God," Jesus prayed, "make me strong. Help me to trust you." Jesus asked the disciples to come to the garden and stay awake while he prayed, but they fell asleep. "Wake up," Jesus told the disciples. When Jesus finished praying, it was time for them to go and face the hard things. Some people were scared that Jesus would change the world too much with all his love. These people were enemies of Jesus. The disciple Judas got scared too. He let Jesus down. Judas told some of Jesus' enemies where Jesus was, and when soldiers came to the garden, Judas kissed Jesus on the cheek to show them who they were looking for. The soldiers took Jesus away. Judas ran away and hid. The priests, who were angry, wanted to get rid of Jesus. "What will happen to us if the people follow Jesus?" they grumbled. So they took Jesus to the governor, Pontius Pilate. He would get rid of Jesus, they thought. Pontius Pilate asked Jesus, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus didn't answer. Pilate thought kings ruled over countries and people. Jesus knew that his power was about loving God. Even though Pilate didn't think Jesus had done anything wrong, he handed Jesus over to the angry people. The priest smiled. Soon Jesus would be gone. Jesus knew that he would die, but that wouldn't be the end of the story. Jesus knew God's plan too. It was a very sad day when Jesus died. The soldiers who had arrested Jesus teased him for pretending to be a king. They made a crown of vines with sharp thorns and put it on his head. And the soldiers made Jesus carry a heavy wooden cross. And Jesus fell down and skinned his knees, and the cross tumbled to the ground. A man in the crowd carried the cross the rest of the way. The soldiers nailed Jesus to the cross and raised it up on a hill between two other men. The other men were thieves who were being crucified too. One of the men was angry with Jesus. "If you are such a powerful king, can't you save yourself? Why don't you save us too?" The man spat at Jesus. The other thief believed in Jesus. He shouted back, "Don't you know? This is God's son. We're being punished for our mistakes, but Jesus hasn't done anything wrong." The man asked Jesus, "Will you take me to heaven with you?" Jesus looked at the man and loved him. Jesus said, "Yes, today we will be in heaven together." After a while, the world grew very dark, as if a terrible thunderstorm was coming. It was as if all of creation was crying because Jesus was about to die. Jesus felt all alone and prayed to see if God was still there. Of course, God never left Jesus. God was with him the whole time. Jesus looked at the crowd. He was so sad that people didn't believe he was God's son. He asked God to forgive them for killing him. Finally, Jesus had fought long enough. He said, "God, the work you gave me to do here is finished." He breathed a final, long, slow breath, and then he died. It was early in the morning on the third day after Jesus died. Several of Jesus' friends hurried to the cave where Jesus' body had been placed. They missed Jesus very much. But now it was time to anoint Jesus' body. Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of the disciple James, led the way. Two others, Salome and Joanna, carried spices to rub on the body of Jesus. They had a job to do. The women realized they had forgotten about the huge stone that sealed the opening of the cave. How would they remove it? The women kept going to the cave anyway. As they came closer, they could see that the stone had been rolled away. They peeked inside. The cave was empty. Jesus was gone. An angel appeared in sparkling white clothes, and the women shielded their eyes from the blinding light. "Don't be afraid," the angel said. "Jesus isn't here. This is a place for the dead. Jesus is alive. Hurry, go tell the disciples." The women ran to tell Jesus' friends what they had seen and heard. Suddenly, Mary bumped into a man and fell at his feet. Wait, she knew that smile. It was Jesus. "Hello, friends," Jesus said. Jesus really was alive. The women hugged his feet and shouted with joy. "Go tell the others the good news that I'm alive," Jesus said. "I will meet them in Galilee." The women had a new job to do. They had to tell everyone Jesus was alive. Jesus soon went to the disciples. They buzzed with excitement. "Is that you, Jesus? We're so happy to see you." Jesus smiled. "Peace be with you," he said. "I have things to tell you." The disciples gathered close around Jesus. Jesus began, "God has given me all the power in heaven and earth." The disciples were amazed. "Whoa, wonderful! We knew it," they said. Jesus told his friends, "Go everywhere in the whole world and teach people about me. And remember, I will always be with you." Jesus returned to heaven, and the happy disciples soon began the work that Jesus had told them to do. That's the end. That's a pretty happy story, isn't it, EB? Thanks for joining me today. Happy Easter to all of you.